Your altitude is determined by your attitude. I'll say that again. Your altitude is determined by your attitude. And I think that just meant so much in my life because there's a lot of stuff. There's heaps of stuff going on. You just have to open up any social media website or put on the news, read anything on news or any one of those news sites. You'll see there's a lot of negativity out there. And if you want to be a good leader, we need to treat our brains like a garden, and we can't feed it weeds. We need to feed it the right nutrients so that we can grow a significantly beautiful, green, luscious garden with all the fruits that are there. Because remember, as leaders, they attract people by being positive, certainly not negative.
You're listening to The Functional Founder with Themi Sturgianus, a podcast for owner-operators ready to build high-performance teams, handle growth with confidence, and scale without burning out.
Functional founders, have you ever reached a stage in your life when you feel you need to cut off from all the busyness, the social networks of the world, the YouTubes, the gurus, and just dig deep to understand yourself a little bit better? Because you see, this is the thing. I feel that we can get swayed by other people's agenda, and our problems in life can sometimes track us down a different path that we don't want to go to. And I find it quite useful to just dig deep and see who were those people in my life that had a very big impact. I'm actually going to visit one now who's my dad's brother. But this is not about him today. This is about my dad, because he truly was my best friend, loved me unconditionally, mentored me, guided me, shaped me to the person that I am today. And I'm on my way to his 2-year memorial service. We'll have it tomorrow. But here's some of his teachings that I think might resonate with one or two of you out there. And it's good for me to revisit again because I'm going to bring it into my team a lot more. I believe that we need frameworks to run our businesses. We could get so sidetracked by all these gurus and all these readings, but I'm going to make it very simple. And he's been influential in exposing me to some quotes that I wouldn't have known if it wasn't for him. So let's just go into it. Number one, your altitude is determined by your attitude. I'll say that again. Your altitude is determined by your attitude. And I think that just meant so much in my life because there's a lot of stuff. There's heaps of stuff going on. You just have to open up any social media website or put on the news, read anything on news or any one of those news sites. You'll see there's a lot of negativity out there. And if you want to be a good leader, we need to treat our brains like a garden, and we can't feed it weeds. We need to feed it the right nutrients so that we can grow a significantly beautiful, green, luscious garden with all the fruits that are there. Because remember, as leaders, they attract people by being positive, certainly not negative. The second one, actually quite an interesting one. In Greek, they say, and I'm probably going to cock this up so badly, Dipla to fasiliko pine ochlastra nero. That's my understanding of it. I know I haven't said it right for all those Greeks out there. But what it basically says is that next to the basil that's growing so beautifully, even the vase attracts water. I remember in the olden days, they used to have clay vases. And in order for those clay vases to stay, or not to get too dry and crack at least, because we're feeding the basil, we're also feeding the vase. And that to me meant if we hang around the right people in our lives, we're also going to get the benefit. The converse is true. If we're hanging around people that are bringing us down or aren't looking after their health or are constantly negative, it can only spill out into your life and then into your family, which is ultimately not what you want in your life. I promise you, that's not what you want. So next to the growing basil, even the vase benefits from the water. The third, that means a lot, is miviasis. In Greek, it says miviasis, which means don't rush. Who's rushing us, guys? Yes, don't confuse the fact that we need to be urgent and that we need to get things done. But if there's a big decision to be made, Don't rush into that decision. I believe entrepreneurs need to learn the skills of making quicker decisions, not rushed decisions. We could make quicker, informed decisions, relying on training our intuition to make quicker and informed decisions, not rushed decisions. And I was faced with a challenge in my life, and it was actually a personal challenge. And I said to my dad driving in the vehicle, it's like, Dad, I've got to share with you, this is heavy on my heart. And he just said to me, my son, be fiazis. Tomorrow, the sun will come up. It's going down now. Tomorrow, the sun will come. And what that meant to me was, don't rush big decisions. Sleep on it. Sleep on it and come up with a real solution, because sometimes we can act on emotion. I'm going through a very big challenge this last 2 years where I've trained myself. I'm not going to act on emotion, and I'm not going to rush. I am not going to allow myself to beat on someone else's drum. Tone it down, and I'll beat on my own drum beat. And that's my big New Year's resolution for myself, is to tone things down a bit, to make sure that the rhythm is on my rhythm. I want flow. So that was a very big one from my dad. The other one was, bless his soul, dealing with the challenge. He'd always say, I said to him, Dad, I've got this issue at work. I have to deal with certain staff members that have done X, Y, Z. And he'd say, my boy, get the facts. Get the facts. So that was number 4, was often we can be in a situation where we make up a lot of assumptions. And assumptions don't fly. Imagine going to court, fighting one of the biggest legal cases, and you get to a stage where you tell the judge, this is what happened. And he says to you, is that a fact? And you can't prove it. You look like an idiot. Get the facts before you make assumptions. Because they say that old adage is, assume, make an ass of you and me, is big. We don't want to assume. We want to base our decisions on facts. The other one was, he allowed me to go to Texas to go and study under a gentleman called Keith Cunningham, and he looked after the business for me while I went, together with my beautiful wife, Ellie. And I took my uncle, Jimmy, who's my best man today, I took him with me, and we still talk about those incredible moments in Texas where we studied under this gentleman called Keith Cunningham. Go look him up, guys. He's a legend. I would probably put him on par as one of the wisest businessmen that I've ever been coached under. He did a seminar called the 4-Day MBA. Go and look him up, Keith Cunningham. And he said it in his seminar, and it hit me like a sledgehammer to my head. He said, guys, imagine bumping into the person that you could have been. Imagine bumping into the person that you could have been. Man, I couldn't stop memorizing that. That to me was, and it's still one of the most significant quotes. I brought it back to my dad. I said, Dad, you're going to have to believe there's someone that's just right on there with your quotes. Imagine bumping into the person that you could have been. And he laughed at me and he said, my boy, you're not going to be that person. Shape your life. Do it now. Always my biggest supporter, would embrace every risk that I took. I could do nothing wrong in his eyes. He wanted me to be that person. He could see it. He could see it. And he was pushing and mentoring me from the sidelines, as he always had. The other one was, yes, we can get the facts. But I think one of the most significant quotes is, he would say, my boy, just do it. Just do it. And I mean, I even used the Nike logo, because it's the Nike logo, just do it. I put it on my phone as a welcome screen. The minute those phones came out, those mobile phones had a functionality called a welcome screen. I thought, what a brilliant idea. I'm going to have it pop up every time. And it's just going to be on my phone, just do it, because fear can paralyze us. Want to implement that CRM system. We want to hire those extra people that are going to change our business. We want to grow into new markets. Don't let fear paralyze you, my boy, he would say. Just do it. Just do it. Another significant quote that I've taken with me over the last couple of years is, ships are safer in the harbor, but that is not what they were built for. Ships are safer in the harbor, but that's not what they were built for. Now, my dad's given me the ability to think that way. I mean, I go and seek. You'll see most of my quotes are about challenging myself out of my comfort zone, because he's created that paradigm for me where I go and seek these quotes like heat-seeking missiles, because it's just good reminders. When I started LabWorks, I was coaching someone and I realized the opportunity, and I was so scared Even when I got myself a coach for the first time, I had to spend close to R500,000 to get this coach on board. And he wanted cash up front. But I knew intuitively, that this person's going to be good for me. And I paid for this coach to coach me, to take my business to the next level. One of the best decisions I've ever made. But again, that quote rings true. Ships are safer in the harbor, but that's not what they're built for. Go out and build your life. Don't build it on someone else's agenda. Build it on your agenda or a community's agenda where you have influence, where you can build something significant. The other two quotes my dad had a very big influence on was he allowed me at the age of 14 to go and attend the Dale Carnegie course. And that was in a small little town called Oudtshoorn. My mom was against it. She thought I was too young to go, and he fought. He put his foot down. He says, "No, my boy needs to go. He needs to go and learn from others. We need to go and expose him." And bless his soul, my dad, because there are some things that I've learned at that Dale Carnegie course at the age of 13. I mean, I had to read books. One of them was How to Stop Worrying and Start Living. What a great book. The other one was How to Win Friends and Influence People. And the other one was Public Speaking. Guys, I've used things in those books all the time, but I think the two quotes that really stood out to me at the age of 13, and I'm 53 today. The one is, again, this is about the ships in the harbor analogy. If you think about it, Dad, you've had such an influence on me thinking about that. But this is the one quote, was we were asked to go and stand up on stage and say the following saying: I know people in the ranks who will stay in the ranks. Why, ladies and gentlemen? Simply because they do not have the ability to get things done. I remember that since the age of 30. I mean, that's a good 40 years ago. I'll say it again. I know people in the ranks who will stay in the ranks. Why, ladies and gentlemen? Simply because they do not have the ability to get things done. They do not. And I've seen it. And I thought, why can't people just get things done? But they just don't. People are trapped by fear. They're trapped by social media, their phones. They just struggle to have that focus, the ability to power through something, to get things done, to get these podcasts out. It's a challenge. It's not easy. You need the right environment. You don't need wind. You need to make sure you're in the right headspace. You need to plan your podcast in advance. It's a thing, just as an example. If I didn't have that philosophy, I probably wouldn't have had a podcast out there. And I'm bent on getting my podcast out there and growing this business. I want to be productive as possible. So thank you, Dad, for that one. You exposed me to that. The other Dale Carnegie quote that really stood out to me was, and I remember this specifically, is building relationships with people. You need to understand that a name to a person is the sweetest sound in any language. And that to me was like, if we need to build relationships with people, life is about relationships, business is about relationships. You're going to meet strangers, get to understand what their name is, and use their names not as a tactic, out of professionalism and respect to that individual. They've been given that name. Why would you not call that person by his name? So those were some of the significant ones. Say yes to an opportunity and figure it out as you go. And that's pretty much like one of the previous podcasts that I spoke about, where we chatted about creating the vacuum and then filling it. That concept, that framework, that belief system, that how to conquer your fear. Saying yes to an opportunity and figuring out, that's our Branson Crew's empire. We are problem solvers of this world. And my dad always taught me, my boy, there's nothing in this world that if you don't put your mind to, you cannot solve. If you put your mind to something, you can solve it. He's given me that belief that no matter what, I can figure it out. So guys, that's this week's podcast. Please comment below which one was your favorite. I'd love to hear from you. Which one of Dad's quotes or references, which quote sat with you and meant something to you? I'd love to hear your feedback.
Thank you for joining the Functional Founder. This podcast grows through you, our founder community. Please share this with someone who needs it and click on the subscribe button. That way, more people can join us.